Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is August 22nd. On this day in 1911, a quiet morning in Paris turned into chaos when the world's most famous painting simply disappeared. It was a crime that stunned the art world, baffled police, and whipped the press into a frenzy. Today, we're talking about the theft of the Mona Lisa, an event that transformed it from a respected Renaissance portrait into the cultural icon we know today. Let's get started. Just after dawn on August 21st, 1911, Vincenzo Peruggia, a 29-year-old Italian decorator who once worked at the museum, emerged from a dark storage closet where he'd been hiding overnight. He blended right in. After all, he was wearing the same white smock that the staff always wore. He walked directly into the Salon Carré where Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa hung. It wasn't behind bulletproof glass, and it wasn't alarmed. Instead, it was fixed to the wall by a couple of iron pegs and a wooden frame that he himself had helped design. Peruggia calmly took the painting down and carried it to a service stairwell where he slipped the frame and glass away, wrapped the canvas in his work smock, and tucked it under his arm like a pile of laundry. Just then, the plan nearly fell apart when he found that the stairwell door was locked. But luck was on his side. A plumber happened by, mistook Peruggia for another worker, and kindly opened the door. Within minutes, the painting was gone, out onto the Paris streets. Then, on August 22nd, a painter named Louis Barraud arrived to sketch the masterpiece. Instead of Mona Lisa's mysterious smile, he found an empty wall with only 4 iron pegs. At first, security assumed that the work had been taken for cleaning or photography. It took hours for panic to set in, and when it did, the Louvre went into lockdown. The police dusted for prints and interviewed staff, but Vincenzo Peruggia wasn't even on their radar. Once the truth sunk in that the Mona Lisa had been stolen, Paris erupted. One newspaper called it the most colossal theft of modern times. The Louvre closed its doors for an entire week. French borders were sealed and trains and ships were searched. The investigation took some wild turns. Authorities even arrested poet Guillaume Apollinaire, accusing him of harboring stolen artworks. Under pressure, he named names, including his friend Pablo Picasso. The future father of Cubism found himself in a police interrogation room, terrified that he was going to be deported. Eventually, both men were cleared, but the scandal followed them for years. Then there were the conspiracy theories. A petty thief named Joseph Gary Perret bragged to the press about stealing small statues from the museum and hinted at knowing the secrets of the Mona Lisa's disappearance. Another rumor centered on Eduardo de Valfierno, a shadowy conman who years later supposedly claimed that he engineered the theft so that he could sell forged copies of the painting around the world. But historians aren't convinced that he ever even existed. It may have been nothing more than a journalist's embellishment. Meanwhile, Parisians flocked to the Louvre not to admire art, but to stand in awe of the blank space where the Mona Lisa once hung. The empty wall became its own exhibit, and in those months, the Mona Lisa stopped being just a Renaissance portrait. She became a myth. For 2 full years, the world wondered, had the Mona Lisa been spirited away to America, hidden in a private European collection? Was it destroyed? The answer finally came in December 1913. In Florence, an art dealer named Alfredo Geri placed a simple advertisement. He's seeking works of art to buy and sell. Among the replies is a letter signed Leonardo. The writer claims to have the stolen Mona Lisa and insists that the painting belongs in Italy, not France. Skeptical but intrigued, Jerry arranged a meeting. He brought Giovanni Poggi, director of Florence's Uffizi Gallery, along as backup. Together, in a modest hotel room, they watched as a nervous man unwrapped a bundle. And there she was. The divine Mona Lisa appeared, Jerry later recalled, intact and marvelously preserved. The man calling himself Leonardo was, of course, Vincenzo Peruggia, and he was arrested on the spot. When news broke, crowds in Florence lined the streets. 30,000 people rushed to see the painting displayed at the Uffizi before it was returned to Paris in January 1914. At his trial, Peruggia insisted that he was no thief, just a patriot. He claims that he wanted to repatriate a masterpiece that he believed Napoleon had stolen from Italy centuries earlier. The story resonated with some. In truth, though, investigators found evidence that he'd also hoped to profit from the theft. Still, the Italian court was lenient. He was sentenced to a little over a year, served about 7 months, and walked out of prison to a surprising degree of public admiration, as if he'd pulled off the heist of the century for love of country. Before August 1911, the Mona Lisa was admired by art lovers, but it wasn't the Louvre's star attraction. She was one of many masterpieces. But the theft changed everything. Her face appeared on the front page of newspapers around the globe. Thousands of reproductions were printed on posters and postcards. People who'd never set foot in a museum now knew that mysterious smile. Writers, cartoonists, and satirists pounced. The Mona Lisa became the butt of jokes, the muse for poems, and the centerpiece for modern artists like Marcel Duchamp, who drew a mustache and goatee on her image in 1919. And later, Andy Warhol, who reproduced her in vibrant pop art form. By the time she was rehung in the Louvre in 1914, she wasn't just a painting anymore. She was a celebrity. In her first 2 days back, more than 100,000 people came to gaze at her, as if welcoming home a missing queen. Today, millions of visitors cram into the Louvre every year to see her. Many don't even look at the other works surrounding her. They want the Mona Lisa, and perhaps the story that once, for 2 years, she was gone. It's one of history's strangest ironies. By disappearing, she became unforgettable. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found today's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!